You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, we're going to talk about the Raiders. That's right, Las Vegas Raiders. Got a couple of different things. Number one, got a player pickup by way of the New England Patriots who released Jack Jones. Now, Jack Jones was a very damn good defensive back last year for the Patriots, but this year, well, he's played limited games, and frankly, he hasn't been very good, to be quite honest with you, and he's also got himself in some trouble. But he once played for Antonio Pierce, who is now the interim head coach of the Raiders, and we've got something on Antonio Pierce, too, because Skip Bayless has come out and made some comments about Antonio Pierce. And, well, if you're rooting for Antonio Pierce right now to get this job, if you're hoping somebody's got a gut feeling about him, if you've got a gut feeling, I got a gut feeling about him. Frankly, I do. Now, I said the only thing I would caution Raiders fans on is this is the same kind of gut feeling Niners fans had about Mike Singletary at one time. Mike Singletary initially was beloved by Niners Nation. He was. But we found out Jed York gave him the job, and very quickly we found out Mike Singletary wasn't actually the guy after having quite a bit of success as interim head coach. Again, all-time great linebacker. Now one could say Antonio Pierce was more of a mid-level talent who became a Pro Bowler and had to really bust his ass and all these things, plus he's a lifelong Raiders fan. So you hope there's something here, but I know one thing. The players with the Niners love Singletary. The players with the Raiders love Antonio Pierce. I still think you have to really consider giving this guy at least 1 year. I do believe that. Let's get to Jack Jones first, okay? The Las Vegas Raiders have picked up an NFL cornerback with off-the-field issues. Best of luck. Raiders interim GM Champ Kelly picked up former New England Patriots cornerback Jack Jones off of waivers on Tuesday. It was announced by NFL Network's Mike Garafolo. Patriots opted to waive Jones on Monday, a day after he played 10 defensive snaps against the Colts in Germany in Week 10. Jones showed promise as a former fourth-round cornerback, but struggled to gain confidence of his coaches due to inconsistent play and unreliable character. New England suspended Jones in 2021 for failing to show up for an injury rehab session. He recently ran into problems after bringing 2 firearms to Boston Logan International Airport in his carry-on luggage. That's not a great look, but maybe Antonio Pierce is the guy that will carry some weight here. On the bright side, Garafolo mentions the 25-year-old is re-teaming with his high school and college football coach, Antonio Pierce, who leads the Raiders as the interim head coach. The addition of his long-term mentor seems a promising solution to offset his conduct issues. So you got to wonder, can he get through to him possibly? It says, then again, the Raiders remain notorious for taking troubled characters and have seen their fair share of off-the-field issues, and they talk about Chandler Jones and that epic meltdown. But it's kind of interesting that after the Josh McDaniels connection to New England, that they reach out and grab a New England player. But I think, 2021, he would have been on the team, but he was suspended. But Josh McDaniels was still there. That's neither here nor there, but still, I thought that was interesting that they picked him up. He did not have enough for me to find a rank on him. 11 targets, 8 receptions allowed. Not a great year for Jack Jones. Not a great year. This is last year, and it's a lot better, okay? He was still a character actor, so to speak, but he had an interception last year. He had a forced fumble. He had 6 passes defended. one fumble recovery, and quite a bit of tackles, and did have 3 tackles for loss last year. So, a couple of interceptions. One interception was returned for a touchdown. So, there may be something there with this guy. And it may be because of this guy right here, Antonio Pierce, and what Skip Bayless has got to say. Now, for the record, I kind of like Skip, but I got to be honest with you. Yeah, it's going to talk about the Skip Bayless show. That's on YouTube, folks. That's not Undisputed. And frankly, I think it's better than Undisputed. I like Michael Irvin. I wish it was Michael Irvin and Skip by themselves. Richard Sherman does nothing for me. Keyshawn Johnson certainly does nothing for me. But, I've been watching Skip since the Cold Pizza Woody Page days. Way, way back when. 20 years ago. So let's get to this, because Skip Bayless, when he was with ESPN, he worked with Antonio Pierce. I had totally forgotten that Antonio Pierce was once on ESPN. I forgot about that completely. One of Pierce's former ESPN colleagues, Skip Bayless, knew long before his tenure in Las Vegas what the former NFL linebacker was capable of as a coach. Bayless said on the Skip Bayless show on Sunday before the Raiders' 16-12 victory over the Jets that he had been, quote, extremely impressed with Pierce in his new position, but made it clear he is biased. In my days on First Take, I worked closely with Antonio Pierce, Bayless said. He was an analyst who came in often during the football season on First Take. He knew the game inside and out. That's interesting. Good. In those days, he was coaching high school football, eventually became the head coach at a powerhouse school here with a great tradition called Long Beach Poly. I think a lot of people, if you keep up with football, you know about that school. So he had some head coaching experience before he went with Coach Herm Edwards to Arizona State to be the defensive coordinator. Antonio Pierce really knows football. Quote, there's no showmanship in his game on television. He was a hardcore analyst with deep conviction about what he believed. Antonio Pierce is a natural-born leader. He's also a natural-born Raider. Having grown up out here in Compton, straight out of Compton, during the days of the L.A. Raiders. Born to be the head coach of the once Oakland Raiders, the L.A. Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. My pet peeve about hiring NFL coaches is that being a coordinator in college or pro football does not qualify you in any way, shape, form to be the general, to be the commanding officer, to be the CEO of a franchise. In no way, shape, or form. Just a gut feeling from having been around, worked around, sort of lived around Antonio Pierce. He's a keeper. He's a leader. He's a difference maker who will rise above one side of the ball or the other. He's a defensive coach who I think was born to be a head coach, especially of this franchise. So that's interesting, and I will say this. There's something to that, okay? Because Nick Sirianni feels like more of a CEO head coach. John Harbaugh does too, a special teams guy. Been around forever now. All right? He manages the head coaching portion of the job, but he's got an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Mike Tomlin, same way. Okay? Whereas I think those guys are more CEO kind of guys, general kind of guys, let me get the guys fired up kind of guys. Harbaugh especially, Tomlin especially. I think Antonio Pierce is going to be cut out of that same cloth. Now, that's the difference between them and Belichick. Belichick, absolutely a defensive guy, absolutely involved with defensive game planning. No doubt about it. Scheming it up still. Antonio Pierce can certainly add that, right? Being an ex-linebacker and a good one. But that's interesting because you can, just from some of the celebrations, how the guys in Las Vegas have responded to Antonio Pierce, I think Skip Bayless may actually, and look, Skip's wrong on a bunch of takes, But I think Skip may be right about this one. I do. I think this feels like it's got some real potential for Vegas. And look, I'd like to see the Raiders. I'm not even a Raiders fan, but I'd like to see the Raiders be pretty good. You know, I know they just felt like a must-watch when Gruden was there. Of course, I'm a John Gruden guy, but, you know, they feel like a must-watch now. When they're on, I'm going to make sure I'm watching the Raiders. They're very interesting, and I'm rooting for interesting. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.